Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So what I'm going to try to do today is a little bit unusual. I don't want to talk to you about Owens Corning for 30 minutes. I will tell you what we do because I think it is a little bit important, but I want to do something a little bit different. What I would like to do is to address why we are all in business today. And I think the reason why we are all here in this gypsum industry today is why we are in business is to do sales, to do revenue, to grow sales, to grow revenue, to grow margin, and to grow bottom line in the end. So how do we do that? Well, we look at the pie that we are all working in, which is this industry that we are all working in. Now, the question I would like to ask today is how could we try to make this pie bigger? And how could we all benefit if this pie would be bigger? So what I would like to focus on today are two things. One is, why is this a relevant question? And second is, how could we do this? How could we try to make this pie bigger? I would like to start by talking about the industry. It was quite interesting yesterday to hear Mrs. Marley from Gypsum. You will recognize a lot of trends that she mentioned. We were not aligned, but that's a pretty good surprise. So I would like to start first talking about the industry and then try to make a link on how does this relate to the pie that we are all very active in. So let me start. Now, if we look at the current market that we are in, and the current construction market that we are in, we have heard yesterday at extensive moments during the day that lightweight construction is a big influence in the market that we are in. Now, why is this happening? We heard yesterday urbanization has already happened, but continues to happen and is only going to get worse. Now, a consequence of urbanization is housing. We have a clear challenge for the future where there is huge potential for more housing. You see here 1.5 million additional residential units in regions where there is huge housing requirements. Now, that is a big challenge because we see today, and we hear this in France and Germany, you have many housing that are already empty or that are already not supplying what people need. So lightweight construction is clearly a way to address the housing requests that we will have in the coming years. How does that so? Well, while housing needs to grow, we hear at the same time that massive construction is going to decrease. Why does massive construction decrease? Because it's less time effective, it's very CO2 consuming, it's very energy consuming, it's very labor intensive. So we have a trend where we need to build more, but massive construction is going to be less. So we see that lightweight construction is definitely going to grow substantially. Now, studies say that up to 2020, this is going to grow by 42%. Now, if lightweight construction grows by 42%, do we have the right materials and do we have the right ways of constructing in order to address this way? If we look at lightweight construction specifically and its benefits, well, of course it corresponds to new build, because I would say that it brings already today less energy, less waste. We see that in general on new build, the foundation is limited, the foundation is heavy, so the piece that you can influence is the piece that comes on top of the foundation. So the load is the piece that you can reduce. Now lightweight construction is obviously trying to address the load that comes on the foundation. Now we know that lightweight can save up to total 76% on a total load on a building. Now we heard yesterday that there are additional trends to this that are not linked only to new build, but are also linked to renovation, for example, or linked as well to what we called yesterday vertical extension as well as lateral extension. If we try to look at this a little bit from a cost perspective, there are several studies that also say that modern construction, like prefab methods or modular buildings, as you hear it also many times, are features that allow building to save costs up to 50%. Now, how is that so? Well, it's of course time saving versus traditional way of constructing. It's installation time, but it also results in many different parts, and it also removes I would say the way you hear in many countries that we have issues around labor and around skilled labor. And as we know, the quality of the labor we have influences tremendously the results on the building that you get. So the more you automate parts or you standardize parts that are used in a building, the less is the influence of the skill of labor and craftsmanship. So other benefits could also of course be annoyance of construction. Yeah, as we know that when you use prefab parts, you reduce massively noise in construction areas, you reduce dust, and you allow people to stay in the building for a longer period of time. So this is the industry that we are in. Yeah, that's basically what we have heard yesterday from Gypsum, and this is what we also notice when we do our studies in the market. So as Owens Corning, who are we and how do we look at this? Well, a little bit around Owens Corning. We're a top 500 American company since over 60 years, 5.7 billion of sales in 2016, 17,000 employees in 33 countries, and we are since many years component of the Dow Jones Sustainability Index. Owens Corning is mainly 3 divisions. The 2 right ones, very American focused. The roofing division, the shingle division, which is 98% American division. Then the insulation division, the so-known Pink Panther, that I am sure you all have heard of, particularly the American colleagues that are in the room. That's also a very American division. And then the 3rd division is the Composite Division, of which we are part of. That's the opposite. It's a very international division. Now, what is the Composite Division? The Composite Division has mainly 2 major divisions. One, which is the Glass Reinforcement Division, focusing particularly on fibers, as we have heard now over the last 30 minutes from our colleagues from Johns Manville. And the other piece, which is focusing on non-woven technologies. Our division, the Composite Division, we do close to 2 billion sales, 6 big R&D centers on 3 continents where we do a lot of research, 28 plants in 15 countries and 7,000 employees. Now to tell you a little bit very high level on the process. So there is the first piece that is around producing fibers. Well, we have heard quite a lot about it earlier. So we blend materials, we melt them in a furnace. From this, the glass is fiberized and the sizing is applied. And then the glass fibers are chopped into wet chop strands. Then what we do as the non-woven technology is we take those wet chop strands and then we mix them into a water slurry. Those wet fibers together with chemicals are formed into a mat. Then the mat goes into a drying process in order to remove water and to cure chemicals. And then comes out on a roll, a veil that is inspected and that is cut to specific width and length. That's the non-woven conversion process. Yeah, so the first piece is the wet fiber process, and the second piece is the non-woven conversion process. Now, just to step a little bit back in the helicopter view, as the Composite Division within Owens Corning, we deliver a broad range of product within the composites. So we go from single-end roving to woven fabrics to multi-end roving to wet chop strand, which is then transformed into a non-woven glass veil, to chop strand mat, as well as to chop strand dry use. Now, why am I telling you all of this? And that is mainly because glass nonwovens today are used in many, many different applications. If we look at it at this map, we're trying to show the different applications that we touch today. So they go from flooring to ceiling to air treatment to pipe to wind blades to pipe technical insulation to marine industry to surfacing to gypsum boards, obviously, ceiling tiles, body panels for vehicles, as well as wall covering, just to give you a couple of examples. Now, where is the link? Well, there is obviously a very strong link with the gypsum industry. And what is this link? Well, today I would say that glass nonwoven has been used as a surface for gypsum boards, mostly for interior application. It's a proven track record for interior application, as tile lacquer to provide mold and mildew, as well as to provide additional fire benefits. The whole idea here of what I would like to bring this morning and what I would like to get us thinking of is, what if we would move from interior to exterior? We know that glass non-woven veil on a gypsum board brings a lot of additional properties, and those range from improving impact resistance, wind uplift, dimensional stability, weathering, mold resistance, and fire performance, obviously. We see that in some regions there is a move towards exterior applications thanks to those benefits. Now, if I focus specifically on one region, this region would obviously be North America. It's a proven solution in North America. It's been used already since many years in North America. We see that it's, of course, not the solution for all construction sites, but wherever the needs are around those benefits that I just mentioned, it's definitely a preferred solution. Now, there is a very strong link with what I have been talking about so far, which is lightweight. Now, clearly, this is a solution that brings a lot of alternatives compared to traditional ways of building buildings, and especially addresses lightweight. Now, if we try to look at it from a European point of view, we are starting to see the first examples of trends of this solution coming into Europe. We start to see several companies investing in Turkey, in Greece, in Italy, where there's clearly potential and that is really starting to be exploited. Now, the development in those areas is growing, but I would consider it slow compared to the total potential that this solution brings. What I think is particularly interesting is that this solution is very flexible. So today you look at a drawing of a wall build-up, basically, an exterior wall build-up. You see on the outside the exterior finish, the insulation, then where the exterior gypsum board would come. Then you have the metal frame, which can obviously also be a wood frame or a steel frame, so that's where the flexibility is. And then on the inside, you have the inside part of the wall, with the interior then plasterboard and the interior finish. So this solution is rather flexible and allows the potential of using different components that can all fit together and still offer what you would request for an exterior wall. Now, I don't need to teach you this, but I think these are the key benefits of gypsum boards. And for me, this is where there is a very strong link to lightweight, to modular building, to prefab, as we talked about earlier, and to flexibility. So what do gypsum boards today offer? Well, they offer a light board. They are easy to cut. They are quick to install. We talked extensively yesterday about dust, about irritation. They offer soft touch. For the exterior side, they offer weathability, strength, barrier properties, acoustics, seismic properties, which is one of the reasons why we see exterior sheeting board coming into play in regions like Turkey, for example, an affordable solution, cost-effective solution. Now, if I make the link with glass nonwoven with gypsum boards, we add a couple more benefits to the gypsum board themselves today. And I would say those are around moisture resistance, mold and mildew resistance, high impact, high flexural strength, non-added formaldehyde binder material, and A1 fire. I would say that this encompasses, in general, the overall benefits of what gypsum boards do today. Now, when you look at it, I mean, we started from the trends that we see in the industry. So we see a push for more housing, we see a push for lightweight, we see a push for prefab, we see a push for automated solutions, less labor-intensive solutions, sustainable solutions, green solutions, recyclable solutions. Now, we are in an industry where we supply gypsum boards. We are willing to help. We have, we believe, a product that also helps the product, your product, in order to make the pie bigger and to try to address a market that is potentially very interesting. Now, if we look at the European market today, there are very, very little facades that are using gypsum boards for exterior sheeting. So let's just imagine that this market would grow just a couple of percent. I think all of us would have to gain here and would profit from it. So we'll be on our booth a little bit later. Come and talk to us. We are willing to discuss with you, to exchange with you, and to think together how could we move this industry around and how could we change what we think is already a very nice success story for this industry, but could turn into something much bigger. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Rachel, for a really fantastic presentation. Very, very good indeed. We have a few questions that have already come in. Let me just ask you those. The first one was, given the strong value of prefab buildings, why has the adoption rate been so low, in your opinion?
That's the million-dollar question, right? So why? Yeah, I would say it's traditions. It's traditions. We have ways of building buildings in Europe that are around concrete, around cement, and that's just the way we built. Now, we heard Mrs. Marley yesterday saying that she has started to gather architects that have international exposure, that see different ways of building buildings, whether it's in the south of Europe or in North America or in Asia. So I think this is a mentality thing. It's of course linked to building codes, which we heard Mrs. Marley as well. It is also a starting point for change. Now, I believe we all can have an influence on this. I think that the more we push for these solutions and the more we show that prefab is a way to address those mega trends, then we need to show to the industry and to building codes and to regulations that there isn't a way that this is going to happen without changing those codes. And this is where I think this requires time. Now, this is not something that Owens Corning is going to do on its own. This is also not something that a couple of architects are going to do on their own. This is a strong push, I think, from all of us in general, whether it's the European Commission, whether it's influencers, whether it's us, the industry. I think, and that's really what I wanted to get us to think about is what are the things that we can do as a whole, as an industry. I mean, there are here in this room, there are competitors, there are customers, there are partners, but there is many things we can do as a total industry in order to influence this. So yeah, the short answer to the question is, I would say, yeah, traditions.
Okay, traditions. Can you just go back one slide?
Sure.
The title of this slide, Engineered Glass Nonwoven Solutions. Glass nonwoven versus lightweight construction. Are they really opposed to each other? Can you combine them in some way? Would that actually lead to a better solution?
Yeah, so the real idea is really that I mean, glass nonwoven do not add weight. What they add are all these functionalities. So the whole concept is, I think gypsum board is the core that is addressing lightweight construction. And glass nonwoven can add functionalities to the gypsum board, to the core, in order to address lightweight construction in a broader way, and particularly for exterior application. So I really see this as 1 + 1 = 3, and addresses better the trends that we see today.
So do you think that glass nonwovens might turn back the tide of lightweight wallboard?
I am hoping that this is one of the ways. Now,
Okay.
This doesn't mean that any other products that are in the industry are not of relevance. I think every product has its own benefits. But I do think that glass nonwoven brings several benefits that tend to fit very well with what's happening today.
Okay. Next question, can your product be recycled?
Yeah, that's...
How easily?
Yeah, that's also a heavy question. So today, the way glass nonwovens are recycled on boards is that they are separated. Yeah, so we talked quite a bit last night with our colleagues from recycling around what's happening. So today, paper is separated from the gypsum board for recycling, and glass nonwovens are also separated from the core, the gypsum core, in order to be recycled. So the short answer to the question is yes. Now, I would like us to think much more ahead, and what we are starting to bounce around in the team is, what if there would be a board that would be totally recyclable? And we started to bounce around this idea last night by saying, well, what if there is a facer that you do not need to remove? What if there is a facer on the gypsum board that you can leave on, and we can recycle the whole board as is? Now, for me, this would be addressing sustainability, and this would be addressing recyclability, and what Gypsum was talking about yesterday a lot more, because you remove one step, and you could somehow try to think bigger. Now, I don't know what the solution is, and particularly not what the technical solution is, but I think there is where we need to think 20 years ahead. I mean, we were talking last night to say, okay, so today it is a solution. There are not so many glass nonwoven boards today used for exterior particularly. So that is going to come in 15 years from now. Now we should start this work now, if we believe that this trend is going to grow and what's going to happen in the next 15 years.
Right, because Christine Marley said yesterday that actually all board products need to be designed for recovery and recycling.
Correct.
So.
Correct. And we were discussing with her afterwards next door, and she was also saying that this is also an effort from all of us as an industry.
Okay. Final question that we have at the moment. What about the African market, which accounts 35 million housing unit shortage? Is this market potentially a focus for promotion of gypsum-based construction?
Yeah, I would tend to let my gypsum colleagues, gypsum board producers, speak here, but my short answer would definitely be yes.
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of potential in Africa. We see potential total population of 4 billion people in Africa by 2100, which is a mind-boggling.
And I think prefab and modular housing is where, I mean, this could be one of the continents where this could play a big role immediately.
Right. Another question has just come in from Jeff Warren. Can the removed glass be reused, or is it waste?
It's waste.
It's waste at the moment.
Yeah.
Could it be made into a product? Could it be recycled? It must be.
Yeah. Yes, but it cannot be taken and say let's take the veil and then chop it and put it back into glass fibers that we reuse in the process. That's not the way it is today. So
could it be in the future?
Yeah, that's part, I think, of the thinking that we need to do as a manufacturer, for sure.
So anyway, in any case, that material can be separated from the board itself.
Correct.
And then whatever is done with it, it can be reused in some way.
Today, definitely. It's glass.
Okay. Are there any questions in the real world? Okay. We'll call that a day then, and we'll thank Rachel Marcon just one more time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.